have no idea how to start this video, but welcome. I'm pretty sure you're here because you watched the East2West cover of Seulgi and Irene's Monster, so I hope you enjoy this video. Just a few things before we start. I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm in no way a professional seamstress or a clothes maker, and I have no formal education or any background in sewing or any of this stuff. So if you know what you're doing, you'll probably see that everything I do is the wrong way to do it. Also, this is my first time filming myself A to Z working on my DIYs, so the angles might be weird and there's no like close-ups and yeah. When I do DIYs, I always have a loose idea of like how I'm going to do it in my head, but when I actually start working on them, it's a lot of go with the flow, so I'm sorry if it gets messy. Anyways, on to the DIY! So the first outfit I'm going to show you is Saru's green jacket outfit. It starts with a plain white dress shirt that was in the East2West lost and found for like over 3 years and it was never claimed, so I decided to give it a new life. First step was to remove the pockets, which we didn't need, and the next shot is going to be the shirt, the full shirt without the pockets, and I'm just marking where I'll be cutting lengthwise as well as on the sleeves. I did a quick dye test to see if the fabric would hold color with the dye that I already had, and luckily it did. I let this test piece soak for about 10 minutes to get the color that I wanted. A quick rinse and this is the color that I got. I'm just folding the shirt in half to get a more even cut on the length and the sleeves, and since the shirt is a men's shirt, I had to take in some of the parts because we want it to be more fitted. So here I'm just pinning and marking what I want to take in. This was only day one of the project, and actually for all my previous DIYs, I don't use a sewing machine. The idea of a sewing machine kind of scares me, so I always use this like tape hem stuff. It's like an iron-on glue that seals fabric together, but you'll see later that I actually learned how to use the sewing machine, thankfully. So here I'm just ironing on that hem stuff and just making sure everything is sealed. Doing the sleeves, make it a little shorter, and make sure I have clean edges. Luckily, Saru, Anne, and I are very similar when it comes to clothing sizes, so I can get a pretty good idea how it'll fit by trying it on myself. I can then pin and mark anything that I want to take in later. Once I got a base size and shape of the jacket, I went ahead and dyed it using some teal and yellow clothing dye. I actually already had these two dyes on hand because I had used it for a previous DIY to dye Anne, Brittany, and my shirts for the Violetta cover. So as I mentioned, that hem tape I use is heat activated, and so since I put the jacket into boiling hot water, it melted all the seams. And enter the sewing machine. It was at this point in my DIY career where I decided I should probably start using the sewing machine. So this is me using it. And it was actually really fun to use, so I'm really excited to use it for future projects. I also dyed the jacket a second time since I wasn't really satisfied with the original color and wanted to make just a bit darker. The jacket has a bustier thing going on it, which I can confidently say I have no idea how to make. So I took some of the pads that came with Saru's bodysuit from the other outfit and decided to fake one. I had extra fabric that I dyed in case I needed to use it, and it came in handy. I cut off all the excess fabric and used some fabric glue and some hot glue to glue everything down. Also, the original jacket has lines on the pads from where the designer actually sewed the pieces together, but since I didn't sew anything, I went ahead and marked where these lines would be. So I used the papers to make removable marks of where the lines would be, and I had that to guide me as I sewed the lines on. And as I was sewing, and then when I finished, I noticed that my bottom bobbin had no more thread and nothing transferred onto the pad. Whoops. But yeah, I refilled it and I sewed it, but I didn't film it. So I just used some handy dandy glue to hot glue the pads onto the jacket. On the original jacket, Seulgi actually has these like power shoulders almost, or like a slight puff, which the dress shirt I used didn't have, but I still wanted to have something that would accent the shoulders. I decided to make use of that original collar that came on the shirt and sewed them onto the shoulders for that little extra oomph. And this is the final look. I'll add some official cover footage at the end of the video. Okay, so for the second outfit in this concept, I have here Irene's really cute one-arm puff sleeve thing going on. So to make this, I used the leftover fabric from Sarah's green jacket, aka the bottom half of the dress shirt. I sort of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but also not really. I'm just testing out different ways and methods I could gather the fabric to make a nice puff sleeve with the materials that I had. In the end, to make the puff, I decided to create a channel going across the long side of the fabric and then just put an elastic through it. At this point, I hadn't conquered my fear of the sewing machine yet, so I'm just using the hem tape. Once I successfully fake hemmed the channel, I ran a piece of elastic through it, and you can see a little ruffle there. And then I do the same thing on the bottom half. So once I did that, I'm just trying it on now to make sure it looks half decent and looks the way I kind of want it to look. And on to the next day, where I decided I didn't like the way the sleeve I made yesterday looked. There wasn't enough volume where I wanted, and I decided rather than using a long piece, I would take 1/3 of the material, cut it off, and replace it at the top, like this. This way the volume of the puff would be distributed a little differently, and I was hoping that that's what would look good. I ran the elastic through again, and you can see me trying it on here, and there's more volume, and there's just more than what it was yesterday. Because Irene's sleeve is actually part gold and I didn't want to have to go buy new fabric, I decided to check out my DIY box and found this dollar store lace that I used to wrap some Christmas presents like 2 years ago. The lace is white, but I had gold paint, so I just decided to paint the lace. And then I let it out to dry. So to make the sleeve a little more structured and stable, I went ahead and took an old bodysuit that I had in my fabric scraps bin and used the sleeve so that there would be a little more support and it would fit Anne's arm better and more comfortably. Once I was happy with the way everything looked, I used a hot glue gun to glue the now gold lace to the white fabric, and I also cut off any excess fabric. And finally running the elastic through the sleeve one last time and glue gunning any open parts, any final touches, and we're almost at the finish line. And this is just a close-up of what the gold lace looks like on the white fabric. It looks pretty fancy, except that open spot. For the forearm portion of the sleeve, I just reused the sleeve that we cut off from the dress shirt again and took it in to make it a bit tighter. Also, I sewed it onto the support piece. But yeah, these are the ugly lines, but no one's gonna see, so it's okay. Just using some more of that gold painted lace to cover up the sleeve. Making sure that there's still movement and we can move our arm with the sleeve on, and gluing some lace onto any exposed parts. So now I've changed into Anne's tank so that I can put all the pieces together and see if they look good. And once I was happy with the way everything sat, I pinned the support sleeve thing onto her tank top and sewed it all together. I glue gunned any final bits and we're done. I remembered that there was a bow on her shoulder, so I had to make one real quick. I did this by using some black scrap material, and I made a less than average looking bow because I knew no one would look at it or even be able to see it if they tried to find it. Finally, I added some tails to the bow, and now we're done. Not yet. Now we're done. Quick cleanup, put that shirt in a bag because it's like 90% glitter, and this is the result. Listening to SNSD while checking the mobility of the piece. And here's the final result on the girls. Make sure to check out the full cover on East2West YouTube channel and show the girls some love because they worked super hard. Also, thanks for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed.